Today I'm busting out one of our favorite crafting materials, Dollar Tree Jenga Blocks. And excuse my voice, I finally got hit with COVID after somehow avoiding it for the last 2.5 years. But anyways, this project is so easy to create. You're gonna take 2 blocks and glue them end to end and make 17 sets just like this. Once the glue has a grip on the blocks, which doesn't take long with this wood glue super glue from Dollar Tree, glue the sets together to create a long rectangle. Next, I'm taking a glass test tube that I got from Michael's and we're making a little propagation station. I ended up swapping this one out for a wider tube later on just because the plant I had put in it already has a good root system and it was just too big for that narrower tube. To attach the tube to the blocks, I'm using this leather ribbon that I have. I marked where I want the ribbon to go on the blocks and used my drill carefully so I don't break the blocks and drilled a hole on either side. You don't have to attach the tube this way though. You could also glue the leather or whatever you have to use directly to the glass and then glue that down on top of your blocks. But before I attach the tube, I stain the blocks using my Valspar antiquing glaze and a baby wipe. Then I added the leather to hold the glass tube and glued it down to the back. I still have the smaller tube here, but then I swapped it out for the wider one. And last, I added another piece of that leather ribbon as a hanger, and this project is complete. This project turned out so adorable. I am obsessed with it. I started out gluing 2 blocks end to end and then glued 2 more blocks directly on top to make all 4 sides the same width. And I made 4 sets just like this. Next, I'm taking a single block and adding it to the middle of the 4-block set. Then gluing all the pieces together to create a square. This is going to be the base for a little stool. Once the glue dries, I'm taking wood filler to make the sides look a little bit more seamless. This step isn't necessary, I just hate how uneven these blocks can be. Apparently I didn't record it, but I painted everything white, and then I'm taking this hexagon wood piece from Dollar Tree to use as the top of the stool. I was debating leaving the stool top natural wood or painting it, but I ended up painting it white also. Next, I'm taking this Mandala stencil that I have and adding it to the top using a tan paint. And that's it for this one. I think it is just so adorable. I want to make more, but I can't find any more of these hexagon wood pieces in my stores. Someday I will find them again. For this project, I'm taking 2 blocks and gluing them end to end and creating 8 sets like this. You'll see here there are 3 blocks, but I ended up changing that, and I also made 4 sets of 6 blocks glued end to end. So I'm making a lantern here and realized I made assembling it harder than it needed to be. I thought it would be easiest to put the 4 sides together first, so I took 2 of the 3-block pieces, I didn't cut the 3rd block off just yet, and glued 1 to each end of the 6-block piece. When I went to put the sides together, I realized the 3 blocks was just too long, so that's when I got out my miter box and cut 1 block off of each end. This looks much better, and I can now glue the pieces together. There's going to be a square in the center and the sections are not going to line up evenly. I glued 1 section to kind of the middle of the blocks for the section next to it. I hope that makes sense, but you'll see how it starts to come together. And I only glued the top together first, let that dry, and then glued the bottom. So I made this same lantern, but with the giant Jenga blocks from Five Below, and this time I glued the bottom together first, then added the sides and flipped it over to add the top. And I think this way was a little easier to assemble in case you want to recreate this project. Back to the regular size blocks, I'm using one of these wood circles from Dollar Tree for the base of the lantern and filled in the hole with spackle, and then glued it down to the bottom of the lantern. At first I only used wood glue, but the blocks are not even, so I added a dab of hot glue as well. Then I stained the lantern with that same Valspar antiquing glaze, but I didn't love how that looked, so I ended up painting the blocks black and left the circle with the stain. And that's it for this one. I think it's such a cute lantern, and you can make this as small or as large as you want. I didn't get to paint the big lantern version since I got sick, but you can at least see here how big it is in comparison to this Dollar Tree one. Oh, and of course, if I'm filming something on the floor, you better believe Mr. Sarge is gonna jump right in. I have so many Christmas lantern ideas, just in case you're wondering why I've been making so many lanterns recently, so stay tuned for those. This is another super easy project. I'm taking a bunch of Jenga blocks and putting sets of 2, 3, and 4 blocks together to create a staggered look. Once I had my pattern figured out, I glued everything together and stained it with the antiquing glaze. Next, I grabbed 3 C-hooks and laid them out where I wanted them to go and drilled a pilot hole so the blocks don't split. The hooks did go through the back, so I put a dollop of hot glue over the point so it doesn't scratch my walls. You could embellish this so many different ways, either with rub-on transfers, decoupage, clay mold pieces, or even just leave it plain. I wasn't thinking and tried to put a dark rub-on transfer onto this dark stain, and it obviously didn't show up. So I just gave the whole thing a heavy dry brush of white paint and put on a new transfer. Well, this week was short and sweet, but I have tons of other Jenga block videos on my channel, so head on over to one of these, and I'll see you guys next week, hopefully feeling much better.